Blessings on blessings, everybody.
Yeah, welcome back to Talk to a Brother. It's been a hot minute since we've been doing anything, really,
Absolutely. Remember, no egos, no judgment, break bread and prosper. And today we've got a
special guest.
Esteemed special guest.
A guest, anyway.
Yeah. Croydon's first mayor, isn't it? Or in a long time. When was the last mayor that we had in Croydon?
Well, it's the first directly elected mayor.
First
So we still have a civic mayor. So that lasts for a year, so the councillor does that every year. But this is the first time Croydon's had a directly elected mayor.
So you've got a little bit of power rather than just a necklace.
Yeah, no necklace, unfortunately. But they tell me I have a bit of power, but we'll see if that works or not.
I think Elisa's got the necklace, hasn't she?
Yeah, Lisa's got the necklace. She's got the robes and the bling.
That should be the first thing you do then, is say you want the bling and the you should be sitting here with
the rings.
Yeah.
I think what we'll, in this podcast as well, what we'll say is we're back on air as well. And thanks to the collaboration with Asian Resource Centre, Croydon Voluntary Action, some of the other organisations that we still work with. And it's brilliant that Mayor Perry's actually made the time for us today in a busy schedule I couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, it gets quite busy. It gets quite challenging. Back-to-back meetings, and But the really important thing is getting out and meeting people. Doing this kind of thing is really important to me, to hear views, talk to people. Worst thing you can do is get elected and disappear into a ivory tower and never be seen again. So
one of the hardest things for your job must be coming into such a hard time in Croydon, like COVID-19's been, we're coming out of it and we're trying to get back to normal, so it must be extremely hard, or making your job harder in a way, to come in such a time.
Yeah, COVID's obviously had a big impact on the world, on the UK, on Croydon, so we are all now trying to get to terms with that, and really I think we're at the point where we've got to learn to live with COVID, and it's there, it's not going to go away, we're going to get different strains coming through, and it's just kind of getting back to business as usual, really, isn't it?
Brilliant. And that leads on to what this series is about, and the series is called What the COVID. And we literally want to pick your brain, hear your thoughts, hear your authentic perspective about how you feel the overall
impact was on the Croydon as a whole.
Absolutely.
And also what you think about COVID vaccine hesitancy in general.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, it's something that we have to live with, so regardless of whether you're vaccinated or not vaccinated, it makes no difference really now, but there was a lot of myths and taboos about the vaccine in the first place. We're trying to clear up any myths and that you can help with. So from your perspective, have you heard anything specific about the COVID vaccine myths or anything like that?
I've kind of heard general talk about the myths of COVID and of the vaccine and people's fear of the vaccine. Yeah. Personally, I've had my 3, and I'm due to have my 4th. So I very much had the vaccine as soon as it was available. I had COVID on the second wave, and I spent 10 days in Croydon University Hospital. So when I was over that, getting vaccinated was really important to me, to make sure that I didn't end up back in that position again.
Wow. A lot of people don't realise that or understand why they get multiple COVID vaccinations. There was something I only found out the other day was, even though you become vaccinated, the vaccination only lasts for so long in your system until it passes through. Is there some sort of limit you would do yourself?
I will keep on being vaccinated and taking those boosters, as you rightly say, it kind of lasts in the system, boosts that immunity for a period of time, and you've got to keep that immunity up. It's out there, we've got to live with it, and I think having the vaccine is the way to try and keep on top of it to some degree.
Yeah, because it's pretty much like any other vaccination, isn't it? You have to top it up after a prolonged time. I think what's the one you get when you're a kid in high school? You get like 3 at the same time.
The flu vaccination.
Nah, you get MMR or something like that.
Yeah, MMR and there's all sorts you have as a child.
After 10 years, when you turn into a teenager, you're meant to go and do it again, and then I think it lasts you the rest of your lifetime. So I think people need to understand that even though it's a vaccination, it's never been a cure. So again, myself, I haven't been vaccinated, but I'm not fearful of it. But I understand the point of a vaccination is to secure you for a prolonged period of time, and then pass that time, you become open to getting the infection or disease again, and you need another vaccination just to top you up.
And the disease changes as well over time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It mutates. I mean, I've just had my flu jab, so I have the flu jab every year because the flu will be different every year. So it's important to kind of keep yourself
topped up. How old are you?
Outrageous question. I'm 53.
You don't look old enough to get the flu jab, innit? I was just wondering.
I have underlying health. I have asthma, so so because of that, I
Make
get
sure
the
you
flu
want
jab.
to be safe. You'd rather better be safe than sorry.
My risk is a little bit higher than someone without asthma.
So you think that's and that's quite interesting that Tom asked the age thing, because it wasn't one of our questions, but is that one of the main focuses now is the hesitancy that we have within the baby community towards vaccines in general? Do you think it's a generational thing? What are your perspectives, in fact?
I've come across many people that have not. I've spoken to elders that have had the vaccination. I've spoken to elders who are really opposed to it, and again, I've spoken to young people. Some have taken it, and some haven't taken it. But there's definitely a fear within ethnic minority communities around the vaccine and what it may or may not do to you. I've had it. I say I've had 3 lots. I don't think it's affected me, not that I'm aware of anyway.
Yeah.
But it's just so important, I think, to have that extra level of protection.
Yeah, I believe it. Again, like you said there, if you feel like it's something, you should be judged either way. If you feel like you need that protection, then you should feel free and not obligated to do what someone else is doing, or was it prejudiced against it. I was in a meeting the other day, and it was a COVID meeting, and they were talking about conspiracies about it and dispelling them. And one of the things was that different communities around the end of COVID started coming up. Oh, you've been vaccinated, we don't like you, or you don't fall into our category, and then you're not allowed into bars. And that kind of created even more hesitancy against it. So you're forcing me to do something. And I felt like social media helped propagate that. Social media, obviously you're a new mayor, but the government, I feel, let down the social media aspect, because social media is rife and everyone's on it for 30-second videos. Only my wife decided to watch the news 24/7 for 2 years. Everyone else was 30-second video with a snippet of Boris said death, so now everyone's scared because of death. So is there a way that if now we have hindsight, if COVID 2024 comes, could we manage it better and more effectively, in your opinion?
I'm sure we would, because I mean, when it came first time round, it was Spanish flu was the last time we had this, 100 years ago. So, we've got learnings. We understand the disease much better. We understand the vaccination and the vaccines much better. So I think, if it did come around that we had a pandemic again, then I think we would be a better place to deal with it. Even from the first bout to the second bout, so much had been learned. And from my own experience at Croydon University Hospital, the drug regime that I was put on, they learnt about first time round. Yeah. So the whole thing is a learning curve, and yeah, I'm sure that if we got back to that place, we would be in a much better place to deal with it.
Yeah, I feel like that's understated how much it was a learning curve for everybody, wasn't it? Like people in power, people going on about their day-to-day life. It was such a learning curve. We'd never experienced anything like this before. Globally.
Yeah. It was a global lockdown.
Yeah.
And that's the other element of where we are. The fact that it impacted not just class, like not just one class, every class, not just one culture, every culture.
So because it was such a new thing, was there a right or wrong decision? It's easy to say in hindsight what was wrong, because it might not have been wrong, because your decision might have led to different outcomes. But it's easy to say you did wrong when you've got hindsight and not enough people died. Well, how many people did you want to die? Did you not want us to go in lockdown and risk it? And as you said about the flu vaccination, sometimes it's better to be safe than sorry.
And I suppose going back to your point about learning curve, I mean, it is a learning curve, and we've learned, but sadly we've learned on the back of people dying. So it's been quite a price to pay to get that learning, and that's why we shouldn't waste it, I suppose, going forward.
What could we do? That can lead into the question in regards to looking back on how it was managed within the council and government, local council, local government. What could we do to actually improve and build trust, or more trusting relationships
Yeah, I mean, it was, at its time, it was kind of a one-off, so I think, as you rightly say, were the right things done, were the wrong things done, hindsight is easy. I think for the council, I mean, Croydon stepped up in a big way, and by that I really mean the communities of Croydon, really stepped up, looking after people, mutual aid and the various things that happened. And I think, you know, food parcels were going out, etc. But that really happened in the community. The council was organising and getting ready for doing that, but it was kind of behind the curve a little bit, and the community really showed how it could respond quicker because it's not tied in bureaucracy and that sort of thing. And I think the council does get tied up in bureaucracy. You know, we're spending public money, so we have to go through certain rules and regulations, and it just kind of highlights the difference of how the community can respond quicker. But I think in future, I would hope the council could respond quicker because we now know what the challenges are and what needs to be done.
Moving forward, I've got two questions that I just thought about when you said that. Moving forward, in regards not just to COVID or anything like that comes about, but how do you think the council can move forward to support communities in taking ownership of themselves? I live in Stroud Green. I feel like the community sometimes feels lost because Croydon Council doesn't support them, but they're not supported in a way to like take ownership. So local authority housing associations, do we wait for something like COVID to come up again where we say, let's get behind each other, or can we be encouraged to work together as a community and say, you know what, there's a youth centre on site, let's now do, let's bring back old school community sessions where people aren't paid as such, but are supported to run them,
and empowered
to run
them. I would even
them.
say youth centre, sorry, I would actually say community centre. Because it's right now, the buzzword is everybody's talking about youth centres. And it doesn't just end with the youth, it ends as a family unit.
And empowering is the thing that was kind of in my head as you were speaking, it's about empowering communities because, you know, Croydon has been and is in difficult times. The council, you know, has been through bankruptcy, continues to be financially challenged. And what I'm trying to do at the moment is kind of reset the relationship with the communities because the communities have proved that they can step up to the mark, they can do this without all the bureaucracy. The council doesn't have stacks of money to give out, and the council doesn't know all the answers. You know, you guys in the community, in our own communities, we know what the problems are, we know how we can help, we know what we can do. The council's got £1.5 billion worth of debt that, you know, money is not available to give out money to people. But what we can do is work with the communities, have this partnership where we're kind of, a bit of a hackneyed phrase, but we're all in it together, working together as partners. How do we empower you? How do we get, you know, on many of our housing estates, there's kind of community rooms that were all closed through COVID, and many of them are still closed. And it's, well, rather than the council has to go there and open it and have a caretaker sitting there managing it, why can't we have a group of 3 or 4 local people who are embedded in the estate, who have got a set of keys, and they can open it up for a coffee morning or a get together of the residents. It doesn't need to be controlled by the council all the time. And that's kind of where I'd like our relationships to move forward, is that partnership where we do work with different communities, be it housing estates, you know, whatever it may be, to empower them so they can do the best for their area.
It's a nice little title, Croydon Council Empowering Communities. I like that.
Yeah, it's good. I'll use that.
No fee, don't worry.
That's good, because we've got no money.
I think that there's 3 elements to it, and it ties into some of the services that we deliver in schools and in families and in the community, in this engaging the community, it's enriching the community, and it's empowering the community. Because I agree with you, it's one thing for community members and being community members where Croydon boys are now, to me anyway. And there's an element of the enrichment side to it. Yes, we can have the keys and go to that door to open the doors, but then there's still services to provide, there's families that will come, there's like how are we going to afford it on our salaries, there's different elements that we need to build a relationship of trust where you can trust to invest into those communities. Go to that old centre that was available before COVID. Does it need refurbishing? What does it need to actually cater to the community that's there? How can we furnish it? How can we get the finance? Are there grants and the funds? Who can we reach out? How can you screen out? What do we need to do to appeal to that.
Yeah, I mean, things need to be done in a proper way and in a managed way, and quite often, you know, groups can apply for funds that councils can't. You know, lottery funding, or there'll be charities that provide funding to organisations. You know, we can't apply for that because we're the local authority. But if we give you the skills, if we give you, you know, the ability to fill in forms and write bids and do those kind of things, so that you can apply to charities and other things, that gives you an access to other monies that can come into Croydon. I'm not suggesting it's easy, but I think it's something that we really need to work on.
I think
again, in partnership.
Yeah, I think something like that would be great, especially for community organisations. Obviously, myself and Chris run community organisations, and the biggest struggle that I have is filling out these application forms.
Yeah.
I can talk for Britain, but you know, pen and paper, can't do anything.
Yeah.
So that I think that would benefit a lot of community organisations. So that would be very helpful. Another thing I was thinking about as you're talking as well, when we're talking about money and what Croydon is struggling with at the moment, is how big of an impact is it financially with COVID, and after COVID, with yourself coming into power again and trying to make life better for people, lives better for us as communities, but there's nothing available. Likely recession ahead of us. Is there a bigger thing to worry about apart from COVID, or are we hopefully going to beat that trend of?
I think the reality is we live in difficult times, don't we? We don't quite know what's around the corner. Potentially there might be a recession around the corner. We've been through COVID. What I do know as a council, because of the financial position of the council, because of the level of borrowing and debt that the council had before COVID, when COVID came along, the council couldn't cope because there was no reserves there. There was nothing left to be able to kind of respond. And here we are a couple of years later, where there still is no money. We don't have money flowing around that we can issue, and then we have the cost of living issues, the energy issues, potential recession around the corner. And again, the council is not in a good position to stand up to those pressures because we don't have the finances behind us. Other local authorities are putting packages together to help local residents financially. What we have to rely on are government grants. We've had £3 million of government grant for hardship, etc., £1 million for discretionary support. So there's funds coming in from government, and we're using those to help in the community. But signposting is the biggest thing that we can do right now. So the thing that you guys do, food banks and various other things, we as a council need to be making sure that people know where all these things are, so that people can access them who need them. And there's a lot of good stuff going on in the community, be it faith groups or community groups or food kitchens, and we just need to let the residents know that these resources are there.
Yeah, okay. I think as we're coming to an end now, I do think I take a lot away from that. I think Croydon as a whole needs to come together by what you're saying, and we need to really dig deep, and hard times are coming, and the best way to get through it is by working with the council, working with community organisations, and just getting over any prejudice that we have towards each other, whether it be colour, religion, sexuality, or even COVID vaccination position. Which is a new one. Which is a new one. So it's about digging deep and working with each other, and obviously Croydon Council seem to be, once they use my tagline, Croydon Empowering Communities, check it out on the website, will be something that you're helping to put in power as well.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, it's a great opportunity, and it's about partnership and working together to make Croydon the great place that we all know and love it to be.
Would you have, our final question, Mayor Perry, what is your hurdle or your main hurdle right now in finding?
There's many hurdles, and they're all interlinked, and kind of finances kind of drive a lot of it, but then it's tackling violence, celebrating our youth, dealing with the planning system that we have in Croydon, sorting out the housing, the terrible housing conditions that we have for our council tenants in many places. So there's a whole host of things that we're kind of working our way. So I'm jumping quite a lot of hurdles. Despite the way I look, I'm jumping quite a lot of hurdles. And but they're all very linked together, and we're trying to tackle them all as holistically as we possibly can.